So my name is Amy Lucero, and I'll be your social worker. I do want to introduce myself and just a little bit about myself and your purpose for being here.
Okay.
So I've been doing this for just a little while. And so the purpose of you being here is just to kind of support you in any kind of social work needs, meaning like behavioral health, and also just to kind of connect you to any kind of community resources if you need any.
Okay.
And so I did want to confirm if this time was okay for you, meeting at Fridays at 5 o'clock, if that's still okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, and the place, if this was an okay place for you to get to.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so then I did want to ask if you could just share a little bit about yourself and maybe how your day was today.
Okay. Well, my name is Ernie Lucero, as you said, and I live here in Santa Monica with my wife, and we have 2 boys.
Yeah.
And today was my day off, so got to do some handiwork around the house, and I got to squeeze in some relaxation and had a good dinner. Overall, it was a pretty good day.
Good, nice. Yeah. It's nice of you to share that with me. And if you don't mind me asking, what did you have for dinner?
I don't mind you asking. I had taquitos.
Okay.
Chicken taquitos and some beans, pinto beans. Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right.
Frijoles de la olla, as we call it. Yeah, it was really good.
Alrighty. And so just so you know, I will be just jotting down some things, some notes.
Okay.
And it's just to help me to remember things because, as we're humans and we forget things. But it just helps me to remember those things as we go through these sessions, okay?
Okay. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
I won't be nervous.
All right.
If you start writing stuff down.
Okay. So I did want to ask you if you could maybe just tell me a little bit about yourself and maybe your birth story or maybe about your mom and your dad.
Sure. Okay. Well,
I know it's
let me
a
see.
lot.
Well, my birth story. Okay, so my mom had me when she was really young, and growing up, we were a tight knit family, and my grandmother and my grandfather, through my mom's side, they were kind of like the head of our family. So they were very involved with me growing up, and so like my mom and my 2 aunts, which are their 3 daughters, my grandparents' 3 daughters, they were like always together, everybody was always together, and I kind of grew up kind of knowing that my grandmother was like the main mother figure in the family, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it was good growing up because I always had my grandma, and my mom, she was always around too, but she was young, and she was always busy working too.
Yeah.
So my grandmother kind of like chipped in and took over, like parenting me, so to speak. Yeah.
You mentioned that your mom worked a lot.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that and how that maybe looked for you or felt for you?
Yeah, like, I mean, when she had me, like I said, she was really young, so I remember her sharing with me that she worked at a bakery, like a local bakery around the neighborhood, and so she worked at that job for a while, and then my like greatest memory of her working was she was a waitress, and she used to work at house of pancakes,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she did that for like many years, you know,
Mm-hmm.
early years. And yeah, she worked pretty hard, you know. And I remember even like as a little kid, I would meet her after school at her job,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like she worked a lot.
Yeah, she did. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
she probably had to, you know, to
Yeah.
support me and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned your grandmother being more of a matriarch.
Yeah, that's the word I was searching for.
Okay.
Yeah, my grandma, she was from Mexico, and she came down and to visit her sister and married my grandfather who was living here at the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're just kind of like, you know, like the traditional Mexican family,
Mm-hmm.
you know, very family oriented, and she loved cooking. She kept a really clean house,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it was pretty much like all by herself, you know. She did everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she was very loving. She was very nurturing. You know, when you would walk into her home, there was always something, you know, cooking, or if it wasn't cooking, it was, you know, coming up right away, you know. Like you never were like hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like nowadays, you know, like where you're like, hey, let's order some food or something like that. No, that wasn't my grandma, you know. She took care of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that maybe she was nurturing, and I wonder if I could ask what, or if you could expand on what that meant for you.
Yeah, she was just like, she always had time for you, you know. You know, like I mentioned, she was from Mexico, so you know she didn't have like you know, like a college background, or you know, she wasn't like she didn't have like a profession, so to speak. But her profession to me was that she was like a housewife, mother.
Yeah.
So she did that really well. Like that was her. How do you say, like that was her expertise. She knew how to take care of you and listen to you, and you know, entertain you. You know, if you're feeling sad, or you know, she would lift your spirits, and she just did like these really special things, you know, for everybody, not just me, but for everybody. She just found time for everyone, and I think that's why you know, people just surrounded themselves with her all the time.
It sounds like you really hold her to like a high regard.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like of all the people that were close to me in my life, she was like the most you know, the most I don't want to say meaningful, but she stood out, you know, to me in my life.
And then as you got older, how did who were the people in your life then?
As I got older, well, I met my wife Amy, and you know, we had our 2 sons, and similar to my mom, you know, we had them very young, and I want to say they were like, you know, like my main, my closest family, you know, was me, my wife, and my boys, and we lived really close to my grandmother, so my grandmother was always with us, and my mom, of course. You know, as I got older, my aunts and their families, they were always around, and also like I haven't really mentioned my father, but my father was, you know, like as I grew older, he was in my life, and you know, I wouldn't say that we were super close, but when we did see each other, it was nice.
That's good. It was meaningful.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Do you want to expand a little bit about your relationship with your father?
Sure. I mean, him and my mom, when they had me, they didn't stay married very long. Um, they separated, I believe, when I was like 2 years old. So, I growing up, I didn't really know my father that well, and I
Mm-hmm.
was pretty young, so it wasn't really like told to me that I had like a dad that wasn't around. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of adopted my grandfather as like, my father because that's what I saw, my mom would, call him daddy, my
Mm-hmm.
aunts, dad, So, I mean, naturally being like a young kid, I saw him as like a father figure,
Mm-hmm.
even though he was older, and he didn't like play catch with me or anything like that,
Yeah.
but he did like have a presence that was like, like a father, and
Mm-hmm.
he showed me a lot of love, like in his own way, He was very hardworking, and he was a big guy.
How so?
He was a big man, He was like, he wasn't like super tall or anything, but he just looked like tall, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, growing up, like, like he always like, like he smelled of aftershave, and he had his shirts that my grandmother would press for him,
Mm-hmm.
like very nicely pressed and button shirts, and he had a bunch of keys always on him, loose change,
Mm-hmm.
and he would always carry his he would always wear a hat, like a fedora hat.
Mm-hmm.
So he would always, you knew when he was around because he would have it on the table, like with
Yeah.
all his his daily stuff, his wallet, his keys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I grew up with my grandparents, so I respected my grandfather a lot.
Yeah. It sounds like there's a lot of maybe like symbolic things that you remember them by
Yeah.
your grandparents.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he drove a big Cadillac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So as I was young, like he had different cars, but when I was like old enough to know, what cars were cool and what
Mm-hmm.
cars were that, he had like a big Cadillac, like an '83 Coupe de Ville that I really
Mm-hmm.
thought was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
um, and so yeah, what was I talking about? My father.
Yeah, your
Oh,
father.
I kind of lost track.
That's okay.
Okay, so yeah, so like growing up, like I didn't really miss my father because I really didn't know that I was missing like my biological father.
Yeah.
I just grew up in a house that was, you know, we had everything that we needed as far as like parental figures, and
Mm-hmm.
we had food on the table, and everybody was getting along. There wasn't any like,
Mm-hmm.
yelling or
Mm-hmm.
violence or anything like that. So I kind of grew up, like I want to say like I had a pretty good life, as a kid. So
Yeah.
I think when I was maybe like in grade school, I met my father. Like my mom
Mm-hmm.
told me like, oh, she sat me down, and I don't really remember quite exactly how it went,
Yeah.
but she kind of explained to me that I had, my dad,
Mm-hmm.
that he wanted to see me, and of course I was kind of nervous,
Yeah.
and because to me it was just like a complete stranger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understood like like he was my father, but I just didn't understand where he
Mm-hmm.
was all this time.
Yeah. Can't imagine what that must have felt like for you, or.
Yeah, and I could always pick up like my grandmother was always very like protective of us,
Mm-hmm.
and she wouldn't like let us go out, like she would always want to know where we were going, like if we were gonna go, to the mall, or if we were gonna
Mm-hmm.
go to the beach. She wanted to know exactly, like, oh, like, I don't want you to be in any harm's way. So when, like I was getting ready to meet my dad, my grandmother, she seemed like she was okay with it, so like it kind of made me feel like a sense of security, that it was like a good thing.
Yeah.
So then yeah, I just remember being excited, or
Oh, okay.
anticipating, like,
Yeah.
oh, a couple more days and I'm gonna meet my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did meet him, he was like, I didn't know what to expect, but it was like I was staring at somebody that, like it made sense that he was my father, because he had like, similarities to me, and that made me feel like, I don't know, like just like a whole new world kind of opened up to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just, it was a good feeling to know that that he wanted to see me and wanted to be in my life. Yeah. If anything, it was like a bonus to, like the family that I already had grown up knowing.
That's a great way of putting it. Would you say that there's maybe, is there anything in your life right now that you feel like maybe distressed by, or anything that maybe you're struggling with that you would like to focus on? Because it sounds like your family growing up, it was very supportive.
Yeah.
And you even mentioned that you had the love and the nurturing, and that meeting your father was like a bonus to that.
Yeah.
So, but looking at your life right now, is there anything that you would like to maybe focus on, or?
Yeah, like, I mean, like a lot of times, like I sometimes feel like, like financially, is always like kind of like a place of concern all the time, I mean, I'm sure it's nothing new to probably everybody worries about that. But as far as like what I have like control over and stuff, I like to do artwork as like a personal hobby of mine. And I've had like some successes, like I've sold some pieces and stuff like that. And I want to say, like, I want to work on maybe like I don't know, maybe marketing my artwork a little bit better, or like so that it could help sustain me and my family. And it would feel good to know that I earn money like through like something that I like to do.
Yeah. Is that maybe something you hope for?
Yeah, I hope for, and I mean, I go to these art fairs and art shows, and I have met friends that support themselves with art, and I can see like that sometimes it could be like a struggle, like I could sense that it's not always like, so easy.
Yeah.
But it looks like fun, and it's something that I'm really interested in, and I don't know, like I see like when they do have like successes, like my friends, like it's like something like, like it's like a real like celebration of like, hey, look, we did this together,
Yeah. And it also sounds like you're making connections through friends in relation to supporting your art.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been like invited to participate in like group art shows, and it kind of makes me break out of my shell a little bit, and create something that I'm really proud of, and then it's rewarding to see it like on the wall, like with everybody else's artwork, and people paying compliments to you, and it's like, hey, like I admit it feels good, and it gives me like a good feeling of like worthiness,
Yeah. Well, that's good. It sounds like it does make you feel good. And then going back to the first maybe concern about the financial stress? Does it
Yeah.
support that as well?
Well, like when you're passionate about something, you spend money on it.
Of course.
So like, yeah, like buying paper, buying art supplies and frames and stuff like that. Like that all costs money, and it really just like it comes out of money that me and my wife work really hard for. So yeah, like sometimes like I want to say like as much as it brings me joy, like I have to be kind of careful and not let it like put me in financial burden, like, so I guess what I'm trying to say is like I would like to learn how to make money at creating art, to support it, because it's something that I really like to do and I'm really passionate about it, and I want to feel good about buying art supplies, knowing that that money's going to come back.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like what I'm hearing is you would like to organize yourself a little bit better.
Yeah.
And so when you're purchasing your art supplies, and then when you are maybe selling your artwork, knowing that what you've sold isn't, or when you've purchased your art supplies, it doesn't even itself out.
Yeah, like, right, like I have to remind myself, hey, like I spent this much on, the frame, and I spent this much on this.
Yeah.
And when people try to say, oh, like try to talk me down, like on a
Yeah.
price, it's like, like I have to kind of like know that, what, maybe today is not the day I'm going to sell this piece.
Yeah.
As excited I am that somebody wants it, but I'm going to have to hold out for somebody that's willing to pay what I feel is worth, And I think if I were to have like to get into detail, like if I were to make prints of my artwork that were like maybe like $15-20, I could sell those and not have to feel guilty about like bringing my original price down on like my original artwork.
Yeah. So budgeting.
Yeah, budgeting and learning how to how to like create stuff that people can buy easily.
Yeah. Alrighty. So can I ask you, how do you feel that this session went for you?
I feel it went pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the questions that you asked.
Okay. All right. So I did want to share something I forgot to share at the beginning, was that everything that we talk about here is confidential. Also, however, like if you do share something about maybe wanting to harm yourself or somebody else, that is something that I do have to share or report. Other than that, then we will just continue to meet at the same time, at the same place.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Ernie.
All right.